Now call to order, and I'd like to ask the city clerk to call the roll.
All council members are present.
I see a young Boy Scout there on the end. Come on down here. I need you to do your duty. Would you be willing to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Bring them all down.
All right, all the Boy Scouts, come down, please. Ladies and gentlemen, would you stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a brief moment of silence? And would one of you gentlemen please lead us in the pledge?
If you're in uniform, salute. If not, please place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, gentlemen, before you go back up, we don't get Boy Scouts here all the time. Could you tell us who you are and what troop you're from?
I'm JR, and I'm from...
There's a microphone right there. You can come.
Right. I'm JR, and I'm from Troop 21.
I'm James, and I am also from Troop 21.
I am Kai, and we're all from Troop 21.
Okay. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
And where do you meet?
You're not done yet. Bob's going to ask you some questions now.
We meet over by Mount Miguel High School at the LDS Church right across the street from Mount Miguel High School.
Okay. And what year are you in school?
I'm going into junior year.
Okay.
I'm going into 9th.
Okay.
And I'm going into 8th.
Any of you working on an Eagle?
Yeah.
Okay. All three. That's wonderful. Those are going to be the leaders of tomorrow taking our places, because they're the ones that really stand out in the communities. So congratulations, young men. We appreciate you. Thank you.
I was a Boy Scout a long time ago, and I think I still may remember the Scout law. Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Did I get it? All right. Oh, what did I miss?
And hungry.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That goes what goes without saying.
We done? All right, gentlemen, thank you. All right, staff, do you have any agenda changes?
No, sir.
Council members. At this time, any person may address a matter within the jurisdiction of the City Council, Housing Authority, successor agency, excuse me, successor agency to the Alcohol Redevelopment Agency that is not on the agenda. Comments related to items on today's agenda may be taken at the time that the item is heard. State law prohibits discussion or action on items not on the agenda. However, council, authority, and agency members may briefly respond to statements or questions, and an item may be placed on a future agenda. Angela, do we have any cards under public comment?
We have no cards, sir.
I guess everybody wants to get right down to business, huh? So let's move on to item 100. Item 100 is to hold interviews for the Mission Trails Regional Park Citizen Advisory Committee. We only received an application from the incumbent, Richard Gadler. I'd like to ask Mr. Gadler to come up to the podium, please. Hi, Mr. Gadler. How are you?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very well, and I hope you all are well also, city staff and council members. It's a pleasure being here tonight. I don't get to see enough of you, actually.
Well, you're welcome to come
But then I'm kind of off. My action is on Tuesday nights every other month, so...
we share the same night.
Close enough, right.
Well,
I
great.
see by the ticket of admission, I have 2 minutes to speak. I don't quite know how to compress what must be almost by now 30 years into 2 minutes. So how about if I just take your questions and try to give you some decent answers?
Well, tell us a little bit about what you do on the committee.
Well, the park is a kind of a standalone entity, but it's, of course, subject to a number of oversight bodies, and it eventually winds up with the city of San Diego and also the county of San Diego. But the CAC is a recommending body to the task force, and applications for any kind of events held in the park are always passed in front of the Citizens Advisory Committee to be approved or disapproved. I frankly can't think of too many that were approved, but every once in a while, yes, something pretty outlandish comes in. Also, planning decisions. There is a standard set of standards for construction around the edge of the park, not park land, but on private land, and the city, the CAC rather, before the city approves the subdivision maps or the plans, for the construction, whatever it may be, why we ensure that it's in conformance with park standards. And we look for funds, for money. Got any?
That's
Always looking for money. But we have the towers on top of the mountain. We don't want any more. Please don't send them our way. We wish they weren't there. But it does bring in money. The cell towers up on top of Coles Mountain, as they prefer to call it. When I came here, it was S Mountain because it had a big white S painted on the side of it for State College. And every year it would be renewed. I see one council member, Mr. Goebel, shaking his head like maybe you went up there a time or two to paint it. He's not admitting it, okay. But then it became Cowles Mountain, and then later on, one of the rangers, the first ranger, Randy Hawley, as a matter of fact, did some research, and he pronounced that it should be called Coles Mountain. And Mr. Coles was an individual who lived out in Santee, but apparently had a ranch or a farm or a home near the mountain, and he preferred that, he gave it his name. So that the CAC here's a lot of different types of matters involving the park, and then takes a vote on it, recommend it yes or a no to the CAC, or task force, I'm sorry, from the CAC to the task force, which then carries it to the city council of the city of San Diego, and they give the final vote. And that's really, it's a very interesting process. I've enjoyed it a great deal and have contributed, I hope, to at least much of the things. My interest is the archaeology in the park, of which there is some, not a lot. And as you all probably know, there's not a lot of archaeological sites left in the coastal areas of San Diego. Our rate of development has been too rapid, and the California Environmental Quality Act, in my opinion, doesn't do the job very well. But something's better than nothing. So our job in the park at this point is to preserve everything we have, and from the mountain lions to the deer, whatever it may be, to the at least monarch butterfly. It's all there for everyone to enjoy.
Let me see if there's any more questions. Ben?
Richard?
Yes, sir.
Why do you think you're the only one that applied?
I really don't know. I was surprised. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to serve a greater good, honestly, because that park has, I'm quite sure, 600,000 people hike up the mountain and come down it. That's barely representative of the people that use the park. In the millions, I'm guessing, the visitorship is in the millions.
I think that you have a world of knowledge. You've been doing this for I don't know how many years, and for somebody to come in, you're a valuable asset, and you obviously you know everything there is to know about that park and everything else. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Maybe for Graham. Is this position paid?
That may be a better question for Mr. Gadler, but not through the city.
No, it's strictly voluntary.
I think that, is there anything, I mean, I'd like to, obviously give some compensation to your time and all the work that you've done.
Well, it's very kind of you. I don't expect it, but.
Well, so like when we go on to commissions, like I sit on another commission where it's a per diem, it's like $150 a month or something. I know it's not much, but it at least alleviates your gas and your time. And
right.
Because to me, replacing you is, you're not replaceable. Clearly by the long resume and your astute and understanding of the whole park, so that's what I would like to do. Obviously it's up to my colleagues, but and everybody else. But I think if you're here representing us, you are our eyes and ears. And if they put me in your position tomorrow, I would be a chicken with its head cut off. I wouldn't even know where to begin. So that's where I think I'm at with it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that confidence that you have in me.
That's the kind of thing we could bring to a future agenda. It's not agendized tonight, though. So all we can vote tonight on is whether or not you can.
I understand, you know.
We wouldn't be able to talk about it now.
We'd have to agendize it.
If it's not on the agenda, you can't touch it. And
We'll put that on the agenda then. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Come on. Okay.
I don't get to report to you too much on things, but let me just add this, that if you have any problem or any question or something you'd like to see done, or maybe something is being done that shouldn't, please let me know, because as you said, I'm your eyes and ears there, and I can present the concerns to the CAC, and they will be dealt with, I promise you.
I appreciate that. Thanks. I've served on commissions like that too, and a lot of effort, and nobody knows you're doing it. But
thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
That. Thank you.
All right. Let me see if there's any cards. Thank you, sir. I think are there any cards on this?
No speaker cards, sir.
All right. Well, council, it seems like a easy decision to me. Anybody want to discuss it or make a motion?
Move to nominate.
Second. All right. It's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
Congratulations, sir. Now, we don't have to do the oath of office. All right. You are in the same position you were when you walked in, but congratulations. All right, let's move on to item 101. It's a public hearing for Bostonia Greens, a common interest development of 7 new homes. Staff, would you tell us about this, please?
Yes, Mayor and Council. This is a new development on Bostonia. This development includes a general plan amendment, zone reclassification, a planning and development, a tentative subdivision map, and an initial study and negative declaration. So the project scope includes a demolition of the existing house on the property and the construction of 7 new single-family residences, which will be for sale and affordable to first-time home buyers. Each 3-bedroom home will have an attached 2-car garage and a private backyard. And typical with this type of development, an HOA will maintain the street yard and common landscaping, private drive and driveways, private street and driveways. In addition to the 2-car garages, visitor spaces will be located in each of the driveways. 4 supplemental spaces are also located in the development. So as I mentioned, the property requires a general plan amendment. The current designation is general commercial, and the zoning is RS6. So this is not consistent. The property has been historically used for residential purposes and lacks frontage on a commercial street, which is needed for a commercial business to be successful. So the applicant is requesting a general plan amendment to low-medium density and rezone to the RM 2200 zone to allow for the planned residential development. The 0.59 acre site could yield up to 11 units with this general plan amendment and zoning. However, only 7 are proposed, which results in a project density of about 11 dwelling units per acre. And this is similar to the other PUDs in this area, which range anywhere from about 8 to 10 dwelling units per acre. Planning and development allows for a more imaginative and creative site plan by allowing for flexibility in the development standards. The PUD has been a mechanism for infill development in the city for a number of years, and it's not uncommon. This type of development is something that City Council has seen time and time again. And the tentative subdivision map is proposed to subdivide the property into 7 residential lots, 1 common lot, and the mitigated negative declaration was prepared for this project. Mitigation measures that are proposed address nesting bird avoidance during breeding season and adherence to geological standards for the development of 7 homes. So here's an aerial photograph to give you an idea of the location of this property. It's just north of Broadway, a few hundred feet east of North 2nd Street here on Bostonia. So if you're familiar where the Bostonia Ballroom is, it's just directly across the street. Surrounding uses include other commercial uses to the south and east and low-medium density residential uses to the north. The Bostonia Recreation Center and Elementary School are located in close proximity, as you can see from the aerial image, just to the north. This is the existing site as it stands right now, a home, single-family home, detached garage, and the rest of the property is quite underutilized. Other PUDs in the neighborhood is what we have here. This is a similar PUD project that's just kind of across the street and a little bit to the north. There's a site plan to show the council as well as the audience how this site is intended to be laid out. 7 residences are arranged along this private street that's in the middle. Has a fire turnaround that's provided about in the middle of the development site. Recreation open space is provided in the rear yards, and again, the HOA will maintain the front yards and other common areas. Trash storage will be located in the side rear yards behind the privacy fence. And as a PUD with shared facilities, again, the HOA will be governed by CC&Rs and will establish ongoing maintenance. These lots range from about 2,500 to 2,800 square feet. Each home is situated on the lot with a 20-foot setback from the private street to provide driveway adequacy to accommodate visitor parking. Side yard setbacks range from about 4 to 5 feet, and the rear yards range from about 5 to 10. Each house is 2 stories and about 23.5 feet tall. It's about the size of an allowed detached structure, which is 20 feet in the single-family zones. There's small windows on the second story of each of these homes to ensure privacy to the neighbors. The property to the north is a multifamily property and contains garages and multifamily units set close to the property line. And there's also a proposed 6-foot-high decorative project boundary wall, which will provide privacy and security at the ground level for this project. So I want to give the council an idea of the proposed elevations. It's a bit of a craftsman style and includes architectural elements indicative of the style, including Moulin windows, corbels, and stone veneer. The 2 plan styles are proposed to provide a variety and 2 color schemes with a third accent color to give a little bit of variation. The applicant is proposing a neutral color palette and kind of darker earth tones, dark brown accents as well. Each residence will be approximately about 1,500 square feet and with 3 bedrooms and 2.5 baths, so it's really attractive to families and first-time home buyers. This is another rendering. So the Planning Commission is recommending City Council approval. They did that with a 4-0-1 vote. Commissioner Morose had to recuse himself due to financial conflict with the developer. So staff believes that this is a well-designed project. It will add value to the neighborhood with new for-sale housing. So we're recommending that the council approve the mitigated negative declaration and the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, general plan amendment, the plan unit development, and the zone reclassification, as well as the tentative subdivision map. Staff is available to answer any questions.
Thanks, Tony. Council, you have any questions or comments? Bob?
Yeah, Tony, did this get in before the requirement for solar? You sneak in before?
Well, it depends on when they pull building permits. So I think
see.
that solar requirement is tied to building permit.
I see.
And it's incorporated into California Building Code.
Yeah, so he may have to.
They might have to.
Yeah, okay.
Ben?
I might have missed that, Tony. What size are these, not the lots, but the houses?
1,500 square feet.
The elevation where the small square windows are, is that where the stairs go up? Like internally? Yeah, the one on the upper right. What are those? Just windows?
Across the front or the rear?
That would be, I suppose, the front.
So I believe across the front is an internal stairway and a bathroom on either side.
That's what those 4 windows are. That's why it's small, like you wouldn't be able to see out of, kind of a thing.
I thought you had no more questions.
No, I believe.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah.
On the backside, I think there's always concern that somebody in a second story will look down upon and into a neighbor's house or yard. What do these elevations help prevent that?
Well, we took the approach that we would minimize that possibility as much as possible, but there are some bedrooms at the rear of the residence that do have your normal size windows, which is important for not just letting in light and air, but also for emergency egress in case of a fire.
And did any neighbors come forward to complain about this issue?
None came to the Planning Commission.
Okay.
Okay. All right, do we have any speaker cards on this item?
We do. And it's Mr. Andre Seehandler.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Hi, welcome. How are you?
Pleasure to see all of you. You're all very hardworking, and I find it a pleasure to be in front of you. Mayor Wells, I might go just over 3 minutes if you'd allow me. First of all, off the subject for a moment, I'd like to commend you on what you've been doing with the marijuana dispensaries. I know you've been working very, very hard at it, and so has the city. I know we've had a few little setbacks, but I think you're doing a great job. And as both a landlord and as somebody opposite a large school, Bostonia school, I think you're to be congratulated on doing the right thing. The issue is the marijuana should not be sold near schools. That's my personal opinion. Also, I'd like to remind you that we have the pleasure of having Lynn McDougall here, who years ago was our city attorney, and he's been for years helping us, and I just want to commend him and be grateful that he has shown up. On the subject of this new housing, one, my property is within the ring and we were not noticed. Two, Cartwright Termite and Pest Control is within the ring, and they were not noticed, but by accident I got a copy of the notice, and I did not make the last meeting because I've been studying very hard, and I've been down at Thomas Jefferson, and as a result I could not make the last meeting, or I would have come forward sooner. With that, please accept my apology. We have 4 units at 1391 Broadway, which are the oldest properties in Bostonia, but for the banquet hall. Originally, in the early 1900s, the banquet hall was a hotel, and my property was a motel. And to be truthful, my property is where the hookers were, and the hotel is where the gold diggers went, and they were sent over there. So that's a little history to you, but we are the 2 oldest properties. I'm slowly restoring our property and trying to keep it in the original condition. My units, other than my house in the back, are only 500 square feet with original siding, original construction made out of cedar, and we've retained that look. We're doing some repairs, but they're going back. They'll be white with yellow trim. Within the next year, they'll be up with nice little picket fences. We are very, very careful to be a crime-free housing. Since I've taken control of it since 2000, we have been a member of crime-free housing. We've owned that property since 1960, so we've been here a little while. And my point is, there is some misnomers in the picture up there. First of all, the properties to the north, which would be going vertically upward, are single-family residences. Secondly, the park is right there, and thirdly, the school is over to the right. Now, if I may remind you, as to Bostonia School still has quite a lot of buildings that are temporary buildings. They're manufactured homes that have been made into schoolrooms because there's not enough. When we moved in there was the old horseshoe with the old school in front, and people would abandon a cat, and my mother-in-law would take in the cat, and we would, to this day, we're members of the Feral Cat Coalition, neutering cats, about 100 a month. But the point is that it's a little deceptive. It's single-family homes going all the way up on what I will say is the right-hand side of looking at that photo. On the left-hand side, they're multifamily. And my issue is we have a 0.5% growth of population in El Cajon annually. That's the statistics. As you know, in the 70s, we had an outrageous growth of multifamily homes, and we have a disproportionate number. And if we look at the average income of El Cajon versus the rest of the county, we're okay, but we don't do really well. And my point is, exceeding the correct zoning there is not doing any favors for us, and putting a monster up that's 2 stories where everything else is 1 story, again, is not good. El Cajon roofing in front of it, single story. Houses behind it, all on that side of the street, single story. We have single story, the park. There's a little Wells Park there, same name, and it's a very nice place. It has grass, and then adjacent to that, of course, is the Bostonia School's yard. And the school right now has a significant population. Whatever you do to increase the number of units on a property, we're impacting the schools. And the schools are already somewhat stressed in this community because of the problems we have of multi-unit housing in the past. On my side of the street, except for the condo, which is directly opposite that property on Broadway on the south side, everything further down is all single-family residences all the way to the freeway. And so what you're doing is you're slowly breaking up the single-family residences that are in this area, and you're making them multi-unit. When I took over control in 2000, we were limited to 3 units. I see now that under this plan, and I believe you each have seen that. If not, I can pass it to you. This is what I found on the internet. It's now 6. And that is already getting excessive. And so I strongly urge you to reconsider this, both because of the vertical height, the lack of continuity with the SFRs, the single-family residences, and with the fact, in our opinion, we didn't even get noticed. And so I realize that the planning department may have made a mistake, but when you look at the circle here, it actually includes our property, and we should have been noticed. With that, I'll leave it alone. I think bottom line is, let's not increase population density unnecessarily. We're not doing ourselves a favor. We're not doing ourselves a favor in terms of taxes that come to the city, because as we do multifamily, as was clearly pointed out, these are beginner homes, these are lower income, and what happens is we're bringing down the average income in the community, and we're affecting our own tax base.
Okay, sir, let me see if there's any questions for you.
Did you want to see this, Your Honor?
You can pass it to us.
I can bring it over if I may approach. That's my only copy, but you may keep it. It's not a big deal. But I think the character is important. Going down Broadway, on the south side of Broadway, we now have multifamily all the way down past the auto sales place at Grape. We and the neighbor next to me are the only single families left in that spot, but everybody behind us is 100% single family.
Let me see if there's some questions. Ben?
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome, sir.
I have to say that I completely disagree with your logic as to why you're against the property, this development, because, well, for a multitude of reasons, namely that there's a shortage of inventory. As you know, I presume you're an investor who rents out property. So there's a shortage of inventory. The project
3% vacancy, I believe.
Okay, so there's a shortage. Well, that's the inflation in home prices, and the project there is one of the newest things that's going to go out there. You would want that for comps, for your own property. It would obviously generate revenue. What's the starting price, Tony, of these houses? Roughly.
We don't know, but
1,500 square foot, so they're going to be 400 something, right? So
other homes on the valley floor have ranged between 4 and 450.
Right. So 4 and 450. But what you're comparing it to now, with all due respect, is the current lot now that looks crappy. So what would you rather have, that lot or the nice houses that are going there? And I understand where you're coming from. Don't get me wrong, but I just think that your argument as to oppose this project, I just completely disagree with every single one of those points, and it would make a lot of sense for given where El Cajon is, with the influx of all of the migration that we have here, whether they're coming from the Middle East or what have you, that they get into these kind of homes as opposed to there's one home on that big lot. So while some of your concerns are, I think, anecdotal and because you have adjacent properties and what have you, it just doesn't make any sense as to stop this project. Like that's a good project.
May I respond for 15 seconds?
Sure.
Two things, sir. One is, I understand that the current property doesn't look good, but if you look at all the properties to the south of me, they've all renovated them. They're all single-family residences, most of them, and they've cleaned them up, and they look really good.
Yeah, but
this one could, too, be cleaned up. It doesn't have to be torn down and replaced.
Yeah, but it's not yours, right? So we have property rights, and the property rights, if I own that property, if I have that one house and I want to build 6, and it makes sense and it looks good, it's not fair that your arguments against this project are what you're stating. It just isn't. Like, the place looks like crap. You agreed. We agree to that. And then if you're saying the property owner can make it look better, but the property owner wants 6 houses.
The only thing I'm saying to that is you're talking about 2 stories against everything else that's single story.
But everything else is old.
Yes, sir.
And we're looking to the future.
Old is good. You
Sometimes.
can make old look beautiful.
I have classic Mercedes Benzes all of that. Sometimes they are good, but sometimes you want to get into that new one and turn on the AC. So. But no, I just want to let you know that, and I say that with all due respect. You're much more seasoned than I am investing and all that stuff. But you're just wrong about that project.
I just want to retain the current character.
Yeah, I know, but sorry.
That's why great minds differ.
Let me see if there's any more questions. All right, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate it very much.
No other cards.
All right. Make a motion then to close the public hearing. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
Okay, it's back to City Council. Gary, did you have a thought?
Yes. Well, everything Ben said on this was right. Putting my real estate appraiser's hat on of 34 years, this city is changing. We're trying to rebrand it, make it better, replace a lot of old, dilapidated properties with new properties. People have to live somewhere. We have a tremendous housing crunch right now. And I'm looking at the architectural, the pictures right here, the renderings, and that's a really nice property, and I'd like to see more people do that around the city. It's a large lot with a lot of wasted property right now. It's not highest and best use, as they say in the real estate market. It will be an asset. Having been experienced working as a deputy assessor for many years, I can tell you that the house is probably somewhere in the high 400s by the time they get it built. It will cause a tremendous increase in property tax revenue to the city and to the schools. And there are a lot of reasons I think that we should approve this. It is entry-level housing, and it actually will bring up the average income level in the city. And this will start out and probably stay for a long time as owner-occupied. So this is a good project, and I'm going to support it.
Anybody else? Would you like to make a motion, Gary?
I'll move to adopt the staff recommendation.
Is there a second? All right, please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote. And if I may, I will introduce the ordinance. An ordinance rezoning property located on the east side of Bostonia Street between Broadway and Cocker Way APN 484-240-19, from the RS6 Single Family Residential, minimum 6,000 square feet, to the RM 2200 Multifamily Residential, minimum 2,200 square feet, pending general plan designation, low medium density residential, LMR.
Thank you. Good luck to you all. And, sir, good luck to you as well. Thank you for coming tonight. And wish you all the best. All right, item 102 is an appeal of Planning Commission denial for an adult day health care center. And staff, would you explain this to us, please?
Yes, Mayor and Council. This is an appeal of the Planning Commission's decision denying an amendment to minor use permit number 4 to add medical services to an adult daycare at Babylon Palace. Babylon Palace currently serves as a banquet hall and an adult daycare, although the adult daycare has not begun operation. So, City Council will recall that in the fall of 2014, a conditional use permit was approved for the banquet hall. And that banquet hall, that conditional use permit for the banquet hall also included a joint use parking agreement with the adjacent property to the north to help provide additional needed parking, required parking. And in the summer of 2017, the City Council approved the addition of a non-medical daycare facility at the Babylon Palace. And during the hearing, the City Council expressed concern about funding, meals covered, transportation, specialized care, patients attempting to leave the facility, and the ratio of clients to caregivers. And at this hearing, the applicant presented to the City Council his intention to only operate an adult daycare center. And it was with that that confirmation that the council felt it was okay that an adult daycare center without health, without medical, was an appropriate use of this location at this location, and wouldn't be in conflict with the two other adult day health centers on Magnolia Avenue. One at the corner of West Madison and North Magnolia, 490 North Magnolia, and the other down next to the assessor's office on South Magnolia. But in October 2017, the applicant applied to change the use from the adult daycare to adult health care, which was subsequently denied by the Director of Community Development. The applicant filed an appeal to the Planning Commission, which was also denied. So a little bit more, let me give you a little background of the site, just to remind the City Council that the property is about 35,000 square feet. It has about a 15,000 square foot building, and there's 25 parking spaces on the property. Here's an aerial image so you can get an idea of its location within this block, with West Madison at the north of the image and Wisconsin to the south, and North Magnolia, of course, on the right there, traversing north-south. The Planning Commission denied the appeal of the applicant because it wasn't in line with the general plan. It didn't establish a need for another adult day health center. It was an overconcentration of such uses in the downtown. And the state of California had indicated that the two existing adult day health centers on Magnolia have capacity, and determined that there isn't a need for a third. And the Planning Commission voted 5-0 denying the appeal of the director's decision. So what the city staff is recommending, that the City Council deny the appeal and uphold the Planning Commission's decision denying the appeal. And the staff is available to answer any questions that the City Council might have.
Thank you, Tony. Council, any questions for Tony? Okay. I'm going to open the public hearing and ask Angela if we have any speaker cards.
We have 8 speakers. The first one is Carmen Guerrera.
Hello, Mr. Guerrero. Welcome. Could
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, member of City Council. My name is Carmen Guerrera, and I am the owner of the property where Babylon Palace is, and that's why we're here tonight. Now, I'm here obviously, to be on the side of Mr. Mike Tereshin. I've known Mike for many, many years. We have worked in Westfield malls for many years, and that's how we met, and that's how I got to know him. He's a very hard, honest working person. Now, the impact of the Magnolia Center on my property is that they use my parking spot for their customers, their clients. I'm sorry I didn't bring my video camera here to show you, because I've actually sat in the corner in Mr. McDougall's spot and took pictures of them parking their vehicle on our property, right up there where it says parking there, and just walk up.
I'm sorry, who's doing this, sir?
Who's that?
Who's doing the parking, the illegal parking?
Magnolia Center people are using our property for parking.
Oh, okay.
And also on Madison and Magnolia, that alleyway, many a times they block it. You can't get through there, no matter what time, especially early in the morning when they're dropping off people and picking them up. So that, and also their CUP says they cannot park there or stop the vehicles there, which they do all the time. And now Mike does have a camera on his building that I wish he would have taken a video and brought it to show that he can see the cars and the people parking their vehicles on our property, walking over. And that's one. And I've asked Mike, I said, why don't you tow them? If I still own that building, because when I used to have that building as great stuff, people would park on my property. I used to get so annoyed, I would tow them. I figured I spent over $1 million to buy the property. Why should somebody else just feel free to park there? And the reason he won't do it is like he said, is most of those people can't afford to have their cars impounded. They're already poor enough or lack of money that they don't want. He doesn't want to do it, even though even Mr. McDougall told them. So that's another thing. The Magnolia Center, as far as I'm concerned, is an overcrowded, small location. I mean, you could just tell there's so many people in such a tight quarter. It doesn't make sense. Also, their website is very deceiving. I've taken pictures if you want to see it.
Can I interrupt for just a second, sir? So the main problem with the main issue of the hearing tonight is to overcome the objections that Mr. Shute, would you put those back up on the board? A dispute between this group and another group is really of no importance to the issue. The issue is whether or not this particular group should meet the qualifications to have a health center.
Right. But I mean, but these were their points, their arguing points at the last meeting.
Okay. All right. Well,
and you weren't here. Sorry about that.
That's okay. It's a different group. It's your time. Feel free. I'd be more compelled to hear why they'd be a good place to have a health center. But
okay. So you want me to stop?
No. You. I'm just trying to help. Sorry.
Okay. Well, and another thing is, first of all, Magnolia Health Center, they are catered, their food is catered from the Crystal Ballroom over there, whereas Mike at the Babylon Palace has his own kitchen. He can cook the food right there. And also, Crystal Ballroom is really upset because they are trying to get another permit on their second location on Mollison to do a health daycare center there also. So I think this is where the animosity is coming in all the way around. And also, I've been asked from Crystal Ballroom if I would lease them my place. Now, they had first right many years ago before Mike took over to lease my space. And the way things worked out, I decided I did not want them in my location, and that's why I gave it to Mike. And even to about a year and a half ago, they still asked me, says, do you want to lease it? And I told them, sorry, But that building's got a 20-year lease with Mike. So that's where I just wanted you people to be aware of that. And that's like, again, there's a lot of animosity here, and I feel it's not fair that Mike does not have the chance to do what he wants to do with that building. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bill Fishbeck.
Hey, Bill, welcome.
You got it. Mr. Mayor, council members, nice to be here tonight, and welcome to Graham. Good to see him here. A few weeks ago, when Mike asked me to take a look at this, I was struck by one very important part of this, and that is that it appeared that the Planning Commission really wasn't doing what is asked of the Planning Commission when a CUP comes before it. The Planning Commission was going way beyond and making a determination that that there was unlikely that there would be a grant of the license from the state. The state looks at these applications in terms of a lot of different things, including whether there is other capacity in the area. That may not be just a function of what capacity was originally issued. It may be a function of whether the other facilities have the ability to take any more patients. That's what this lady will do in Sacramento. That's her job. She has just started. And yet the commission was making the decision primarily on the basis that they thought there was unused capacity in the area, and therefore not making a decision on the basis of what we look at when we look at conditional use permits. So I ask you to look at my letter and the attachments. So the question is, what is there about this facility, the way it's proposed to operate, the way that the shuttle buses will come in, what is it about that that's inconsistent with the neighborhood? And I'm going to tell you, it doesn't look like there's anything that I'm seeing, and I haven't heard anybody talk about anything. If you look at the site plan for this property, the site plan will allow 15 vehicles to stack. By comparison, I've given you the site plan for 490, where you can barely get a few vehicles in there at all. And there's no flow-through like there is on this property. This property is perfect for people to be shuttled here for their daycare, medical facility use, and then picked up again and taken off without impacting the street or the alley, which seems to be what the big discussion is about. So I asked the council to look at this in terms of what the job is that the council is asked to do when it's presented with an application for a CUP. Look at whether this use will have a negative impact on the surrounding community. And don't make a decision that would usurp the job of the state to decide whether there's capacity here or not. They know what is needed in the community, and they know what the capacities are. That's what I ask you to do tonight.
Any questions for Mr. Fishbeck? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Mike Tersibakian.
Hi, Mike. Welcome.
Mayor, good evening, members of the City Council. I know I have a tough ride ahead of me, so I'm going to try real hard. So if you can recall, about 6 months ago, we came before the City Council looking to open an adult daycare center. And if you can also recall, we continued it. We continued to the next session because there were some concerns from our neighbors regarding parking and traffic flow. So what I did is I talked with Ken Smith, who was an architect in the city of El Cajon. He gave us a beautiful traffic plan, a beautiful parking plan. We had the city traffic engineers look at it, and they approved it, and I came back, and you guys gave me a unanimous decision for all the members that were present, and I thank you very much for that. So then next we went to the Department of Social Services to talk about our project. They also referred me to the Department of Health and the Department of Aging. I also spoke with Nancy Whiteside in Sacramento, who is the director and the ultimate decision maker to open these types of centers. We spoke actually for quite a while on the phone. Now, she couldn't give me advice, but she did present me with factual information which helped me make my decision. There were 7 topics that we talked about that were relevant in these projects. The first one is that there was a greater need for health-based centers versus non-health-based centers. I think most seniors and adults now are on some sort of medication or other. And the funding for these projects now is being dispersed through Medi-Cal. We talked about funding for daycare and its availability, and it seems at the moment it's almost unattainable. If you're familiar with Section 8, as I had a friend of mine, he applied more than 8 years ago. He still hasn't gotten it. So they're pushing people to go towards the health-based model versus the non-health-based model. The projects are both nearly identical in every way. The transportation modality is the same. The client-to-staff ratio is almost exactly identical. The meals and nutrition standards are also exactly the same. The only difference would be the staff type. I'll have to hire more qualified staff versus the staff that I would need for the daycare. The fourth thing that we talked about, which is also really relevant, was that there was a 20-year moratorium on these types of projects. Apparently, the demographics of the country is changing and there are more seniors in our population. They just recently lifted the moratorium, and if Tony and I believe Alphonse may have noticed, there are more centers trying to open in the area, and that's only because the state is allowing these permits before they were not available at all by any means. So I'm hoping to be able to do this during their open enrollment period. The fifth point that we talked about, and I want to quote you here because I talked with the program director in Sacramento directly. She told me, I'll quote, "Mike, in LA I open them around the corner from each other. My only concern was vacancies." And I, as a businessman, can understand that as well. Why would you open and sponsor a government-sponsored program where you're going to hurt an existing one or maybe have one that's opened and fail? So then we discussed one of the most successful centers in California. And actually, I was very proud. It's right here in the city of El Cajon at the Royal Palace Banquet Room. They started out with I believe, 50 to 100 people. They had people on a waiting list. They showed a waiting list, they upped their capacity, and they upped their capacity again. They currently have 360 patients in that center, and they also still have a waiting list. And after talking about these things with Nancy, she also wanted to discuss the vacancies in the nearby centers because that was the concern of the planning department, and a lot of people were not aware of some of the specific details. And this is real key, the occupancy versus square footage. Also, amongst other things, we talked about food and a few other things. After we spent our conversation talking with the program director, she told me that I had fulfilled what she thought were the needs to open another center in the city of El Cajon. She emailed me a pre-screening application. I sent it out. Within a week, she responded back and told me that it was approved, and she gave me an application to move forward with the project. Now, I have the application in hand. However, obviously, I need the City of El Cajon's blessings to move forward with the health element in the project. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Let me see if there's any questions. Ben?
Mike, you mentioned speaking with Nancy in Sacramento about some square footage. Can you elaborate more on the square footage conversations you had?
Well, yeah, it's very key in determining occupancy. I'll talk about my project. For example, I have a 15,000 square foot building. I net out 7,500 square feet after you take out the lobby, the bathrooms, air conditioning room, and whatnot. So if I have 100 people in my center in 7,500 square feet, that gives me 75 square feet per patient. Most of the centers in El Cajon average between 22 and 30 square feet per patient. There are some centers, however, that are going to net out somewhere close to 12 square feet. So where I'm standing here is basically 9 square feet. They will never, ever achieve capacity. So what they may call vacancy is not truly a vacancy. All of the centers in El Cajon are running at capacity, and that was my conversation with the program director in Sacramento, and she felt that I gave her enough information that she would want me to move forward with the project with the health element versus the non-health element.
Okay. Question?
Yeah, another one is, do you know how occupancy is determined by the Department of Aging?
Well, yes, some of the centers may ask for huge occupancy because the way that they determine occupancy in a center is not by square footage. They will give you, for every bathroom stall, 15 patients. So if you really think you're a shrewd operator, you could take a really small building, pay minimal rent. But when you build it out with a lot of bathroom stalls. So it gives you huge capacity. They leave it up to the local departments to determine occupancy. And nowadays, occupancy with the current fire code systems is really high. However, you can't force people into something really tight. People are not going to go where they're not comfortable.
Thank you.
More questions? Mike, who's your executive director going to be?
Of the daycare center?
Yeah.
Well, since this project has been dragging out for so long, I've hired people, but they don't stay on for that long. I've had so much opposition from all of my neighbors and competitors, I can't keep someone that long. So I've been trying to consult with the state. They've been actually tremendous help. And actually, Tony and his staff have also been helping me understand what I need to do. But I've been trying to convey to them, you know, the need of what I have to get across. And after they conveyed to me what I need to do with Sacramento, that was actually the best help they gave me. So that's why we decided to move forward, but add the health element. They're both identical projects. It's just who I'm going to be able to bill, and obviously the staffing is going to be different. But easement-wise, we have huge easements. In fact, like one of the, I'm sorry, it's going to take one more minute. I know I've dragged it on for a while, but this is really essential for our project. We only work basically on the weekends. I need a daytime use for that building to be able to make it succeed really well. So one of the major issues that came up in the City Planning Commission's meeting, and I was just absolutely shocked. They stood up there, looked them straight in the eye, and told them that they get 3 emergency vehicles every day at that center. Now, I'm around the corner from them. I'd hear them. But obviously, if there's that kind of traffic, it would scare any city thinking that you're going to have 720 emergency vehicles going to one site, and you really want to open a lot of these. So after we left the Planning Commission meeting, Tony, I went right to Heartland, to the 911 center. I asked them, actually I did it for the last year, from that date back, going back 12 months, how many emergency vehicles do we get going to every single health daycare center in El Cajon? The one down the street from me, Western, they get 12 a year. They have an occupancy of 100. So, I'm sorry, 14 a year. So it's almost one a month. The largest one we have here in El Cajon at the Royal Palace Banquet Room has 360 patients. They get 24 a year. That's 2 a month. The one around the corner from me gets 3.5 a month, almost 1 per week. And I have the paperwork from Heartland. Actually, I have it with me because I was surprised at the information that they had given the City Council, and I know that they've been misleading everyone with factual information. Now, look, I'm all for business and competition, but there's certain ethics in business. I don't think it's right that people get up and tell you something when it's totally fabricated. In fact, I have a certified copy here from Heartland showing that there's only 44 emergency vehicles a year going out to that center. And I have it here for the one on Broadway with 24. And if I can pass these out to you, if you'd like to look at them, because I'm just shocked that people are saying things that are not correct.
Hey, you can give those to Angela, that's fine. Angela will take them. All right, Mike. We'll take a look at these. I'm going to listen to the other people and hear what they have to say, and then we'll go into deliberations.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
I really appreciate it.
Next speaker is Mr. Lynn McDougall.
Mr. McDougall, would you rather have the microphone brought to you? Yes, sir. That'd be fine. Oh, yeah, we. You were afraid you were going to have to stay all night to get your hat back. Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. McDougall, that's fine. You can go last.
No, I asked to be the last one, but she said it's already in order, so we can't do that.
Ma'am, I'm going to go ahead and let him be last, but don't worry. Everybody will be heard, and order really won't make a difference.
But the last two times,
Ma'am,
the last two.
ma'am, please. Well, that's very, very kind of you. Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Who's next then?
Hilal Mansour.
Oh, there's more. Here. Hi, Mr. Mansour. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. First, in appreciation, I would like to thank every member of you for spending the time, the effort, your experience to solve this problem or this issue. As I mentioned before, I am the marketing director of Magnolia Center. And I'm responsible on the people inside and outside. And everything that's happening at the center, I know about it, and my nose in there. Example, parking. I noticed that our drivers were using plastic stands, and that's very, very dangerous to our participants, and I made the decision to change them to steel so it can carry the weight of the person. Keep in mind, sir, those people that use carts, okay, I have at least 70% of them, they use carts. When we load them into the van or buses or cars, number one, we have to take care of them and seat them. Second, we have to take the card they are using for medical reasons and put it in the trunk of the car that's transporting them. What does that mean? We're going to take about 10 minutes per person to load in the car. In the meantime, a lot of cars are lining for other people. Today, yesterday, the other day, I was watching the parking lot. It's lane and a half, and the direction from where you enter and exit is not, it hasn't been defined yet by the city. So cars coming from here, and we have our cars are loading people. So just imagine, we have the same starting time. We have the same ending time. People are leaving from Magnolia Center, from Babylon, and maybe Crystal Ball, they have funeral, they have whatever in there, and they have their own issues. Without the emergency vehicle or the government vehicles, how many vehicles are we going to have in that alley?
All right.
Accident will happen. I guarantee you that, and I hope my voice is recorded. If anything happened, are you going to blame the business owner or the driver or the city committee that approved their business? I do encourage business. I am with you. But they have to find a better location where we don't have that crowd.
All right. Sir, your time is up. Let me see if anybody has any questions.
Thank you very much.
Ben?
Is this for Magnolia Center? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm sorry?
Are you from Magnolia Center? I didn't hear it.
I'm from Magnolia Center. I'm the marketing director.
Okay. Is there a site plan, Tony, that you can pull up for theirs? Because I heard that they drop off cars in the alley, right? Did you say you drop patients off in the alley?
Well, the last
You,
time when I was
yours.
here, Mike showed a sketch, and it was required by you that he shows where his vehicles gonna enter and exit from the alleys next to the building.
I don't know anything about that. So my question to you is, where do you guys drop off your patients? In the alley?
We drop our patients, in our parking lot that's the closest area to our doors. But we might have in the morning 6, 7 vehicles lining, and they might use the alley. And it does extend to whatever.
When I was reading the CUP, Tony, I think that their site plan doesn't allow them to use the alley. Am I wrong?
I don't have 490 North Magnolia Adult Day Health Center in front of us, so I can't comment on that.
Because if I could see obviously a lot of animosity, and a lot of times it's like conflating from what we need to talk about. And I, for one, am getting confused, right? Because everybody's talking about their own hyperbolic experiences. But so it seems to me then I don't think when I read it really quick, so I may be wrong. The CUP didn't have them allowing them to drop off vehicles, but I may be wrong. If that's the case, then the bigger question is why battle the other site if it's obviously dangerous for your site too.
It's dangerous in the whole alley, and I hope, Mr. Kalashu, that you spend a couple hours with me at the exit time, at the end time, to see what mess we have in that alley.
Yeah, if you buy pizza. So the thing is, I mean, I hear you, and I hear you saying that the dangerous situation with the flow of traffic, but I don't think you guys have an easement of flow of traffic. I'm pretty sure you don't.
We don't have any sketch for the traffic.
And you don't have what?
Did you say you have a sketch?
No, I said I don't think you guys have an easement for flow of traffic. I think you guys use the alley, and so the CUP doesn't allow that for your site. So my concern is that in the spirit of anti-competition, that we're mixing a lot of things together. I mean, just earlier in this council meeting at 3:00, we voted for fair and open competition with waste pickup. So I'm pretty sure this is a business-friendly council, or I hope that it is. So I want to tell you that minus all the emotion, what are we talking about? Just get down to brass tacks. What do we,
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question.
I would tell you in Arabic, but I don't know if that's allowed. Not allowed. So basically what I'm trying to say is that the way I see this project is there's just competition and bad blood between whatever happens, and I don't really care. What I care about is what the project's going to be intended to be used for, and is it going to service people in need. Everything else is just drama.
Yeah.
And I don't care.
I know you care about business, but I care about safety of the people.
Okay, so me too. And then that's why I brought up the whole flow of traffic, because I don't think there's an easement there where you're at. And so the CUP, and then so with that said, you're dropping and picking up patients in an alley where I believe the CUP does not allow that to happen. So before you start criticizing somebody else, look into your house. That's my just by looking at it. And I wish Tony had the same.
Okay, Mike showed the sketch that if he would open this business, he will have his transportation vehicles going right and left around the building. The first week when you approved him without the health care, he was running a trial or something, and he was having a lot of women in buses. They were going with speed through the alley pouring into Madison.
Were there any accidents?
No,
Okay.
but will. I guarantee you.
I know, but you know what I mean? Just minus drama, everybody. This is to everybody. So just minus the drama, just get us the facts.
Mr. Kalash, all what I'm telling you, that the committee going to be responsible if anything or any accident happen. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Before you call the next person, I want to kind of refocus all of us. We're here to decide whether or not this particular use for an adult health center is proper. It really doesn't matter what's going on between this group and another group. It really, the pros and cons for this will rest on the merits of the case that you make, and it has nothing to do with what another group thinks about it. Certainly, if you have substantive things to talk about where you've seen safety violations or your fear for safety violations, love to hear about that. But let's just try to keep it factual. All right, thank you.
Danny Rahim.
Hi, Mr. Rahim. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me here. My name is Danny Rahim. I am the manager of Crystal Ballroom, which is near Babylon Palace Banquet Hall. As a very popular business, we have many activities and meetings, funerals, and day-to-day operations that we provide for 7 days a week. During the morning and the afternoon of any given weekday, we are very busy, and there is just enough space for us to operate without disturbing the alley traffic flow that's between Babylon, Crystal Ballroom, and the Magnolia Health Center. Our parking lot is across from the alley, which we have sometimes people crossing from the parking lot into the Crystal Ballroom. And we have a hard time using the alley just because it's very busy. And the alley is the alley is owned by the city, and if there's an emergency, the alley needs to be attended the emergency, then the traffic flow chaos will block the city emergency personnel from doing their job. I foresee this legal action and taking against the city for ignorance of the plan. Thank you.
Let me see if there are any questions for you.
Do you have any questions for me?
All right. I do have a question.
Yes.
Are you saying that by them opening up their health center, they would be driving onto your property?
Yes, the alley that's between my parking lot and Crystal Ballroom.
Is that your property?
No, the alley is.
Yeah,
yes,
so
ma'am.
I guess my question would be, why should we prefer your business over another business if it's public property?
It's just.
Okay, I get it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We only have 2 speakers left. Ms. Lula Shamoun.
Ma'am, I think you wanted to speak last.
If you give me 4 minutes, I will be.
Well, I think the gentleman said he would speak before you. So if you still wanted to speak last, he had made that offer. Okay.
I have 4 minutes. That's helpful. As we all know from previous meeting, Mike was applying for adult day care non-health. In that meeting, there was a lot of concern with parking situation, traffic control strategy, and alley usage. As of today, Mike is applying for adult day health center. I just want to clarify one thing. Adult day health center is not a small business, and is not a place for you guys just to hand out like you said before in a previous meeting. Adult Day Health Center is a facility approved by the state to provide an area of health, wellness, and community integration, involvement of low-income residents, of people eligible of medical, and immigrants seeking a way to improve their health. I talked to Nancy from Department of Aging. Nancy stated that she sent Mike a generic email including a screening package without knowing of my location. Nancy asked me to show you my approved letter. Mike is trying to deceive you by showing a letter That's nothing to do about an approval. Nancy was very thankful for the planning department and the city planning commission for their knowledge about ADHD and being protective for the residents of El Cajon, who health and life has rightfully supported. And I have a copy of all of you from Nancy showing how the approved letter looked like. And my never gotten approved letter was only a screening package to be sent to anyone who asked what's the information about Adult Day Health Center.
Would you like us to read that? You could
I made a copy to all of you.
You can take it to Angela. Go ahead. You might well go ahead and continue. Your time's going, so.
I just want to say something. If you have any question about the email I sent about the staffing requirement, I sent it to all of you via email with the title 22 as well. And also, if you have a question for me about the capacity for the other location, I could go ahead and tell you each location and the capacity, because Nancy already emailed me each one and their capacity.
All right.
Okay.
Let me see.
For Magnolia Adult Daycare, their capacity, which is the license in the wall by public health, they are 244. Magnolia attend 172. So they do have a space to grow. For the Western Adult Daycare, they have a capacity of 105, but they attend 95 people. For Elm Adult Daycare, their capacity is 360, but they attend 244. So it's still a space to grow. And then comes me. I'm from Mollison Adult Day Health Center, which is I'm going to open soon. My capacity is 250, but I'm starting with 125. So I will have a lot of place to draw as well.
You're not open yet?
I'm going to invite you to my drawing opening soon.
Okay. Let's see questions. Ben, you had a question?
Did anybody get the attachment she's talking about? Because
No, not this one. I attached title 22 and the staffing requirement. That's a new email. That's a new paper.
okay, so this, because I don't understand what this is. It's just
That's a letter from the state saying that she's got approval to open a person. I'm not sure it's germane to what we're talking about.
okay. So that's what. All right. Let me think here. So you're from where?
Mollison Adult Day Health Center.
That's called Prestige Club, right?
Mollison Club, yes.
Mollison Club? That's a banquet hall, right?
Yes.
So I go back to that very first statement I said, because I feel like it's because it's a club or it's a banquet hall, and so is Babylon. It's just a conflict of interest with your opposition as far as because they do the same stuff. So and then with the occupancy stuff that I was reading here, I think you're referring to utilization rates, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at one. It says 85% utilized. That sounds pretty full. The other one's 64. Looking at it here, it seems like one business performs better services than the other, or is cheaper, or whatever. I don't know what that tells us.
It's not cheaper. They all same price. They all pay by the state.
Yeah, I don't know what that tells us, but just bringing it back to why we're here today.
It just tell you to make sure what Mike said. Mike said he already got an approval. No.
I don't know.
He did not get an approval.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's number one.
Yeah.
So you should know who are you dealing with. Or that person want to deceive you. He didn't even start the business yet. And you imagine when he done a deal with older people. What's that going to happen?
I think
that should be your concern.
Yeah.
As people who elect you and select you to be a councilman.
Yeah, I think I didn't hear him say that he was approved today.
Yes, he did.
I don't know if he said
the
that.
video, if you like.
But in any case, it just comes down to simple competition in the greatest country on earth that we have to allow the competition to take place. Obviously, we have to look at other factors, code and whatever general plan, but I really didn't hear anything today that I was like, it was a gotcha moment. I mean, you're not going to convince me today that Mike's a evil doer. He's just.
Where's all the scheduled in a part?
Again, I addressed it to the other gentleman. Well, that's not your problem.
It's my problem because
Why?
those my people. Those are El Cajon residents.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
It is work like that. Because those are the speech for the people on the program.
I just want to tell you, it just doesn't work that way. You're wrong.
But
it doesn't work that
you
way.
look in every area where there's people then apart. Plus the program.
You can't be concerned with where his business is. That's what his job is and our job is.
That's why he deny him, because he's smart.
Well, okay. So if that's the case, or maybe they just didn't have all the information, and that's what we're here. We're going to be here to make that final vote and decision. But I like to treat everything as a case by case basis, and I just didn't hear anything today that was. It just seemed like the Jerry Springer show or something.
Well, just ask me a question. What do you think?
I mean,
has enough.
I have all the answers. I think that I need. Listen, I've been around the block a few times. So I know, I mean, I understand.
Well, it's very busy.
No, not that block.
Very
It's a figure.
hectic area.
No, it was just a figure of speech. I mean, I understand the project. I understand what you're saying, and I understand.
I hope you do.
Yeah, I understand.
Because, people trusted you and select you when it comes for their life and health as this manner.
Thank you.
All right, let me see if there's any other questions. Counsel? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Last speaker, Lynn McDougall.
Hi, Mr. McDougall. Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, staff. My name is Lynn McDougall, McDougal. I've been an El Cajon resident for the last 52 years. I represent the 460 group, which is the partnership that owns the property abutting the subject property to the north. We built that those two buildings in 1973, and during the last 45 years, I think 30 or 35 jobs have been generated out of those buildings on average for the El Cajon economy. Disclosures, I need to go through this. The last time I checked, my name was still on the law firm to which Mr. Foley, your city attorney, is a partner. And I want to assure you that none of the partners in the 460 group have any financial interest in the law firm, and no one from the law firm has any interest in the 460 group. I would also, I'm sorry, I'd also indicate that although we do have a lease with Mike for using our parking lot on non-business days and weekends, we have no financial interest in this permit, because the lease is there and it has nothing to do with this permit. Not that that really matters too much, except I just want you to know the status of the messenger. Mike has done exactly what the prior city manager, and welcome, Graham, and the council has done so well over the last few years getting people to invest in El Cajon. I mentioned this to you before, that Mike leased the building next to us, which was a deteriorating building. He spent over $500,000 refurbishing the outside, made the inside beautiful. If you haven't seen it, it's a work of art, and has been a great neighbor for the last 3 years in the operation of that and has really helped the neighborhood. I think the reason we're here tonight is that Mike got some bad information about what kind of a permit to apply for before. And I certainly agree with what Tony said, because as a matter of fact, the mayor questioned whether or not there was going to be financing for that type of facility at the time, and he was absolutely correct. In looking at the emails that Mr. Camacho sent to the Nancy at the aging department, and he specifically said in that they were that there was a application for this facility that was in close proximity to an existing one, and she did not respond to that as far as the documents that we got. But as Mike said, he discussed it with her, and from her standpoint, there wasn't an over-concentration here in El Cajon, and it didn't affect it directly that it was in proximity. And I would assure you that we went through all of this before, and the council unanimously voted that indeed Mike had enough room on his property to handle all of the traffic, to handle the emergency vehicles, and there are 4 different ingress and egress points for the fire department on his property without getting near the adjacent facility. And also they have access to our driveway, which for emergency vehicles, if indeed that is a necessity. So I think,
out of fairness, I'm going to have to stop, but I have some people ask you some questions. You could probably get the rest of what you need to say. And anybody have any questions to ask? I guess not. Well, Mr. Redondo, was there anything that you needed to wrap up? That
the only thing I wanted to say was everyone who spoke tonight against the project is attached some way or another to another facility. And it seems to me that the people who have not been heard tonight are the citizens of El Cajon who are out there who may wish to choose to spend time in a spacious, well-appointed daycare facility with quality food and medical care available. And that's what Mike has. And in conclusion, I urge that if you must penalize Mike for his misjudgment of asking for the wrong permit, then please don't issue the death penalty and deny this permit. What I ask you to do is approve it, and that in effect would commute his sentence to the hard work, hard labor of running an adult care facility with a medical component. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
No more cards.
No more cards. To make a motion then to close the public hearing. Second. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
All right. Council, this is back with us. I expect some discussion about this. Who would like to start? Bob?
Well, you know, this council, when I first got on it 20-some years ago, we talked about business friendly, and in the city of El Cajon, and stopping a business from operating is not very business friendly, and I'm inclined to think that maybe we could approve this and possibly ask for a 6-month review to see how it goes, and maybe the staff could kind of monitor what's going on over there, and maybe if it isn't working, then we could change our mind. But at the same time, we could let him try it and see how it works, because he seems to have the approvals, and like they said, the only people speaking against it were the competition.
Ben, then Gary.
I don't know about that 6-month time frame. I think that if you were to look at that, you'd have to maybe bring Mike up and ask him if that's sufficient, because I feel like all these paperwork takes longer than 6 months to get up and running. So I don't know if putting a timetable on it, I'm not opposed to it. And then the question becomes, is our time and staff capable of reviewing that project, and do they even know about it, right? Do they even know how it operates and all that stuff? So it's maybe not. And then, but I think maybe if you're going to go down that route, is to ask him if that's sufficient, because, I mean, if it's all paperwork and going through the bureaucracy, going through Sacramento and waiting for emails, and I don't know, 6 months could be a blink of an eye. So, but I concur with Bob about hearing from, and Mr. McDougall about hearing from competition, and that is not what this fabric of this country is made from. We welcome competition and follow the rules, and as a case-by-case basis.
Gary?
Well, I agree with the issue about competition. However, I'm concerned that there may be an over-concentration of these kinds of businesses right there on Magnolia, and I don't want El Cajon to be that corridor to be known as the home health care center of East County. So, and I know, Mr. Mayor, you have a lot of expertise in this type of issue, and I really want to hear what you say, because that's going to have a big impact on how I look at this.
Steve, you want to go first?
I really wasn't swayed by an argument about traffic. I think it's unfair to penalize an applicant because there's already a lot of traffic there. That doesn't seem to be a good argument to deny a permit, because it will add to traffic. So that didn't sway me. If there are, I believe, police staff, please correct me, I believe there are 9 existing medical or doctor office facilities within downtown specific plan 182. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And downtown specific 182 was intent to bring people downtown and have this vibrancy and retail and things, and we already have 9 medical doctor type facilities within the downtown plan boundaries. I would agree with Mr. Fishbeck to say we stay out of it when it comes to capacity. If company X, if there are 9 restaurants in town and 2 of them have low sales, do we deny another restaurant because the other 2 have extra capacity for extra sales? No, you allow competition to go. So I agree we should stay out of the question about extra capacity. I believe that's for the state to decide. I'm more along the lines of Gary, this over-concentration in this specific Plan 182 boundary. There are already 9 existing facilities like that. I am concerned as well along this corridor of becoming the office medical corridor, and I don't think that was the intent of specific Plan 182.
Tony, could you bring back up that slide that said why the Planning Commission said gave the denial? Thanks. Well, first off, I want to clarify a couple of things. When you all came back the first time, I asked you a lot of questions about staff and ratios because I knew that the license that you said you were going for would not have the kind of oversight, and I was afraid that you didn't know what you're getting into and that some people were going to get hurt. If you're going to open up an auto parts store and you didn't know what you're getting into, that's your business. If you go out of business, so be it. But I know that when you're dealing with elderly folks, if you don't know what you're doing, somebody can get killed, and nobody wants that. I know you didn't want that, but this is different because now that you are going for the health care component, a completely different department takes a look at this, and they're going to hold your feet to the fire. You're going to have exactly the right square footage and bathrooms and egresses and entrances and carpet and nurses and doctors and therapists, and you have to meet every check or they will never let you open. So I'm not worried about that because the state of California is going to take care of that process. I also think that you have a right to open a business. If you have the facility and you have the will and you can get the license, then nobody should tell you what to do. And I agree that with Mr. Fishbeck that we have no business saying whether there's enough capacity or too much capacity. That's up to the state of California. We shouldn't be involved in that. My concern, though, is the reasons that the planning department did deny the application. Number one being it's not in line with the general plan. I think that that's a bit of a problem, Tony. I want you to explain a little bit more about when you say it's not in line with the general plan. That's a little bit soft. It's telling me that we have leeway there, but what?
It does. It does. But the Planning Commission findings, those are summary findings, and the findings are more in detail in the agenda report that the Downtown Master Plan, which is governed by Specific Plan 182, was intended to create this mixed-use urban village at the core of the city. This prominent location on Magnolia, this high visibility corridor, in line with the general plan, would best be served with complementary land uses that will contribute toward this type of vibrant urban village that's intended to be created. And that's really the general plan's goal is to focus administrative, civic, and cultural activities along with what the downtown specific plan is trying to achieve in creating more housing and neighborhood commercial serving uses. So that's what was meant by in line with the general plan.
So is that basically the same thing as saying an overconcentration of the downtown area?
Well, not exactly. Those are two separate things. In terms of overconcentration, that is based on a number of the same uses, where we have to identify: is there a public convenience and necessity? Is there a need for this? And the information provided by the state is telling that that information supports that there isn't a need. If there's already adult daycare health centers in the downtown that have capacity.
Do you believe, it's a bit of a hypothetical, so you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but do you believe if this same package had come and it were not in the downtown specific plan, that the answer would have been different?
I think it would, because we're putting it in areas where there can fulfill a service in another part of town that's not concentrated with the same types of uses. So what we try to do is put these, not just in this use, but other uses kind of spread about the community so they can serve all parts of the community and not overly affect a certain neighborhood and potentially impact that neighborhood.
Thank you, Tony. So I'm open for more discussion, and I see everybody's hands going up, but that's my big concern, that we've spent a tremendous amount of time, effort, and money preparing this downtown. I remember long before some of you guys they wanted to bring a Walmart in the downtown area, which would have brought us a lot of revenue, and a lot of people really wanted to do it, but we decided not to do it because it wasn't consistent with what we were going for in the downtown area. And so we asked Walmart to locate in a different area, and they did. I kind of think that's where my head's at on this right now, that they certainly have every right to open up this center, but I would like to see it in a different part of town. But I'm open to having my mind changed. Gary, we'll just go down the line, okay?
Well, actually, Councilman Goebel's remarks and Tony's and the mayor's helped me kind of solidify my thoughts on this. And stepping back a little bit, looking at the big picture, we have spent millions upon millions of dollars to rebrand our downtown, to make it appeal to tourists, to people to come down to town for an event. I mean, we have 40,000 people at Haunt Fest, and I can see this area expanding. Downtown is something special in this city, and I'm concerned that this is not in line with the general plan. Adult daycare doesn't fit really in a vibrant urban village setting. I mean, how many vibrant urban villages do we see with like North Park? They don't have a whole bunch of adult daycare on University. They got nightclubs and restaurants and hip places to buy things. So looking to the future, it doesn't fit into what I envision as our future for downtown. And then we have a lot of businesses, small business and the restaurants that put everything they had on the line because we promised them that we would stick with this plan of the vibrant downtown and have, and part of what government does, in my opinion, is we take away help take away the uncertainty. If you spend a lot of money in a restaurant and you have a couple of adult daycares coming next door to you, that's dead space for the traffic. I mean, those aren't people that are going to be walking down the sidewalk and going into your restaurant. And I think there's a overconcentration in downtown. Now, if this were somewhere else, in Magnolia maybe, or down further down on Main Street, East Main Street, that would be different. But the way I look at it, each one that goes in is a blank spot for traffic. It will generate no traffic that goes into the restaurants. So, that's my concern, and I'm still somewhat undecided, but it would take a great argument to sway me to think this would be a good thing for our downtown. So I'm certainly going to keep an open mind here and want to hear what my fellow council members have to say.
Well, I think he already has applied for and been approved for a different type of daycare, and he could operate that, and we'd have an adult daycare. Probably wouldn't be something that he really wanted because he wanted something better. This building has been there for a number of years. I don't think it's going to go away real soon. We have a motorcycle shop in the middle of downtown. We have where the Cajon was, that's not business oriented other than the motorcycle shop, which is not something that you put in your business vibrant. I don't see any motorcycle shops in the Gaslamp district or anything like that. So I think we have kind of a mixed number of different businesses, and in the core it's getting nicer. But this is 2 or 3 blocks away from the core of the city, which is Main and Magnolia. And I think that we're thinking, yeah, this would be great to have, a lot of businesses in that area. But look at Parkway Plaza. Sears is going out, and they've got a lot of empty buildings. We need to keep our buildings, if we have tenants and we have viable businesses, we need to have those working, where if Mike were to open it in the other perspective that he'd applied for originally, it may be a vacant building someday. We don't need vacancies in El Cajon. We need people that are in business. If the core of the city moves out in that direction, eventually that would not be the highest and best use. Mike could probably see the opportunity and say, hey, I'm going to not do this anymore, and I'm going to have somebody buy this and maybe put in a 20-story apartment building there like they do downtown. I don't know. But I don't see that in El Cajon tomorrow, but, you know, California's growing and never stops. So anyway, I think that it's important to have our businesses filled up with viable, ongoing things. And he's going to operate there, whether it's this way or with the health care. So we're stuck either way. So why not let him make the best use that he can of the building to maximize the potential in El Cajon?
Tony, could you put that planning commission slide up? So the way I read that is the very first bullet point is the one I think that's the most important, and that I got the sense that there was flexibility there and that it could maybe sort of possibly work if only kind of a thing. The second bullet point did not establish a need for another. That I think plays in so many ways as to what I find problematic with the planning commission, but planning commissions in general. But I mean, a need for another one is not the planning commission's job to tell him if there's a need for another one, or to find out. They're not experts in that field. And the email that we saw about occupancy didn't say anything to me about, I've had businesses before where the example in Santee, before Costco put their gas station there, everyone was like, you're nuts, nobody's going to go to that. There's an overconcentration of gas stations, and they're busier than everybody over there. They're busier than every gas station in Santee. So, and then overconcentration in downtown, you can't conflate and the reality with what's going to happen if somebody buys that building and tears it down. You have a guy right here who's a business person who's invested, I presume, $1 million into the place. He's here. That building's not going anywhere in the foreseeable future. He has an opportunity to maximize potential in this capitalistic society that we live in. And maybe I'm going out on a limb, but I presume that if he doesn't end up generating more revenue than just 2 days a week, he'll leave or do some, I don't know, because I don't know if that he can afford to keep the lights on. These are the questions that we have to be asking him. And then the state indicated 2 existing adult daycare centers. That's what I was saying. I was looking at that, and that doesn't tell you anything. All it tells you is one facility has better service than another facility. Like it doesn't tell you. Obviously, there's a need for all of that. And to go back to the very first point, which is that's the meat and potatoes of the whole thing. Everything else is noise. If it's not in line with the general plan, and if saying moving it, we'd approve it if only you move it. Well, he's not moving it. And he doesn't want to go anywhere else. That's not, you don't own another building, do you? Anywhere else? No? Okay. So we're talking about what he has now. So let's talk about what he has now. There's an overconcentration. Okay. You'd have an empty building instead of that. It's just, better. You know what I mean? That's what we're talking about. You'd either have an empty building, or he might leave, or you can help a business person who's invested $1 million in the city make more money, and the other people watching this video can be like, well, there's the council that's fighting for the small business person, minus all the noise. The only thing we should be talking about is the first bullet point.
Ironically, it's a sentence in Mr. Fishbeck's letter that struck a chord with me. The CUP criteria for the city to review is exclusively to explore the compatibility of the project with the surrounding neighborhood properties, as with all CUP applications. I agree with that. So bullet point number 2 and bullet point number 4 don't really strike a chord with me, because let's say the argument is the other daycare or facilities are at capacity. So you could say there is a need for another one. The question is, should it be in Downtown Specific Plan 182, even if the other ones were full? And I would say there are already 9 other places downtown, even though there's a need because the others are at capacity, maybe it should be somewhere else. That's my point.
All right, more discussion?
I remember years ago there was an issue when we were trying to clean up downtown of we banned the thrift stores downtown. That wasn't in the vision of what you wanted in a downtown. And when people opened up restaurants, they knew that we would not allow any more thrift stores. I mean, when I first got on the Planning Commission in 1996, I remember we had a blood bank over here at the northwest corner of Main and Magnolia. We had thrift stores everywhere, lots of rather undesirable businesses. And not to say this is not an undesirable business, because it's not. It's just maybe this is the wrong place for it. And to me, it just doesn't fit in my vision of the downtown. And when someone comes in and they want to they buy a building, they want to know that there's not a business going in that doesn't meet the general plan specifications. So by sticking with what we said we'd do years ago when we created the general plan, I think that's important to protect all the investors in El Cajon. So, what comes next? A tire shop? So,
across the street.
So, yeah, but that's not something that we want to stay there. It's probably legal non-conforming. A tire shop. You go down by the Spring Valley Swap Meet. I was driving there with my kids the other day. Go, wow, Dad, there's a tire shop, an apartment building, a couple single-family homes. This place looks awful. And I said, that's because they never had proper zoning here and they weren't consistent with it. So that's what we're trying to do when we rebrand El Cajon. I think that Councilman Goebel makes a good point here. So I can't support the proposal to change this.
All right. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. Okay. I'll move that the City Council deny the appeal and uphold the Planning Commission's decision.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Hold on a second. So just to be clear, voting yes is voting no against the project. And voting no is voting yes for the project. Okay. Everybody clear on that? Moved and seconded, please vote.
Motion carries by a 3-2 vote with Council members McClellan and Kalasha voting no.
All right. Thank you all for coming. This brings us to adjournment, the adjourned regular joint meeting of the El Cajon City Council, El Cajon Housing Authority, successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency, held this 12th day of June 2018 is adjourned till Tuesday, June 26, 2018 at 3 o'clock p.m.